When you consider that we're born blank and programmable and put into a reality that it knew, whatever it was, they that made us all and put us all in here, that this reality was controlled by, for instance, the arch nemesis of fucking God. I mean, just process that. This supposed arch nemesis of God, or God, this supposed God knew that its arch nemesis was dominant upon the earth, had dominion. Fuck, it gave it dominion upon the earth. And then it decided to put us here, blank and programmable. No 4 lines of moral code, and that's the don't kill, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie, don't fuck your neighbor's wife, that stuff. Morals that prevent true breakdown, like don't act like animals, don't deceive each other, all that basic stuff. 4 lines out of the 10 given to humans in the 10 commandments. If everything that humans are in this context is all genetic stuff, you'd think, based on the level of evil here, based on the fact that we're blank and programmable, based on a handful of fucking key factors, that to prevent the goddamn absolute and total devolution, degradation of the motherfucking species, that you'd put in there at a genetic level as a fucking failsafe because of the awesomeness of the evil that you knew it was here, and the team that it built for itself of the minions and the demons and the blah blah, the devil's children and all that other stuff, you'd think. And then, again, parenting code. These are fail-safe mechanisms to prevent the devolution, to prevent the perversion to be so horrible that the devolution is coming from the goddamn familial units into the offspring through the horrible behaviors. Why are the horrible behaviors happening? Oh, because the other part, the compartmentalized mind, the subconscious doors, and the fact that humans are not given some sort of tool set, if you will, an understanding, an innate way of understanding that our minds are compartmentalized, the trauma, the damage, the mental, emotional, the psychological, the sexual trauma, the damage that human children experience throughout whatever period or phases of their life they go through, and human beings, and all the way that happens, to the degree that it's not processed healthily and resolved, it gets put into the subconscious mind. We don't have access to that. We don't innately know that. This stuff starts stacking up and creating problems, traumas, and much like refrigerator where you don't eat all the food because it's just stick it after months and months, open it up, you won't want to. Well, the same thing with the traumas that get stuffed into the recesses of the subconscious mind. Again, non-physical places and spaces where humans retain the damage they take on unprocessed without an understanding of our complex psychologies, and then no access to the subconscious mind, no instinctive understanding that we're going to innately, or we're going to eventually have to go and deal with it all. When you consider the metaphysics of parents passing on to their children, the damage energetically, even possibly genetically at a genetic level, that they don't deal with. Think about it. The more you combine mother-father damage through whatever aspect of life as children, as adults, they don't do the work on themselves. They're retaining all of this in their own subconscious minds, in their own energy body, in their own emotional body, in their own energetic experience. And then they come together, have sex, combine their energies with their genetics, and boom, bearing the sins, the burdens of the sins of the mother and the father in a loosely put sort of way. Not that they were bad, but that we get all that passed down to us in a weird metaphorical sense. It kind of fits. So not only do we carry all of this shit from our parents, then life does to us what it does to us, and then we don't have the tool set inherently for self-management and maintenance, if you will. And when you look at the track record, and then you can start to realize what ultimately goes into the subconscious mind of a lot of people, well, it starts to explain what we see in certain ways of the moral and the ethical and the principled devolution and degradation. Combine that with the devil's children and the social engineering that they're doing and all the fucking ways that that's affecting us. Something is devolving the fuck out of us, inducing the most devolutionary experience. The technology is evolving so the psychopaths that are doing it to us can continue to control the herd animals that they're so largely been responsible for creating through the dumbing down, through the chemical lobotomy, through the mind washing and the mind programming and the indoctrination and the molding and programming of your belief systems and your worldview and your perception and your understanding of what quote unquote God is. And when you realize you got a whole herd species upon the earth that'll kill, they'll go to war with each other over their ideologies, their religious beliefs and their political beliefs. That shit falls into the category of ideologies. And when you realize what humans are willing to do to each other for that kind of shit, then you realize how humans' strings can be pulled through their religious ideological beliefs or their political ideological beliefs. And that shit, oh my God, look at humans, the track record. And those, like I've been telling you for years now, those that know more than you about you, know how to pull your strings, know how to do it on a collective level, know how to trigger you, pull your strings, influence your mind, and a lot of other things that when you really wrap your mind around and you really see how weak and vulnerable we are born, and that so much of this are the inherent weaknesses and vulnerabilities in us due to lack of knowledge, due to a complete fucking not understanding of the back doors within our being, how something else could effectively come in through that proverbial back door. Whoa. I've really wanted to see the love and light. I really have. I really hoped that somewhere along the line of my doing what it is that I do, to reach the conclusions that I do, to paint the picture for you that I do, to show you the truth of what I see that's going on, and you combine that with what you've discovered, what you've figured out for yourself, what other people have shared with you, and you put it all together. I mean, when you really, really sit with it, to whatever degree you're capable of doing it, to whatever degree you understand the layers of our existence, to whatever degree you see how the deception has literally been littered across all of it, our history, our countries, just the whole fucking thing, reality itself, the quote-unquote God, the quote-unquote gods, blah, 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 blah. Something, or a group of somethings, has so intently, so willfully, so sadistically, so maliciously, there's so many words in this category of like horrible shit, to their intentions. Something created us so that all of this was fucking possible without any fucking knowledge of how to protect ourselves or any of it. You know, I'm telling you, people. So as I have seen and understood the zero-sum game that life in this reality really is showing itself and revealing itself to be, I've been more compelled to, over the years, to further unearth, unpack, tear apart, god damn it, down to the last molecule, metaphorically, to whatever extent I had the capacity to do it. And it's like, when you align with it to the point where it starts to resonate in your, quote unquote, resonate in your fucking soul, and you realize how out of its way it's gone to deceive every goddamn last motherfucking one of us that it possibly could in the most hideous of fucking ways. Nothing has protected us. The whole model of protection for humans falls to shit when you understand what happens to human children upon this fucking earth. Oh, fuck me, Agnes. When you start to really wrap your mind around it, and the evidence of the vastness of that damage is, I believe, the cluster B spectrum. In every one of those people in the cluster B spectrum, except for the primary psychopath who's born, and that represents 1.5%, 2% of the entirety of the human species in comparison. So they're pretty small. Everybody else on that spectrum, that's a level of human devolution that is so off the charts, and it's feeding on itself. Look at the rise in the neurodiversity spectrum and how horribly that's affected people for the last 30 years. That statistic has gone parabolic. That's an assault on the consciousness, on the cognitive ability of human beings collectively. And it's going to get who it's going to get, and it's not going to get who it's not going to get. The roll of the fucking dice is the roll of the dice that apparently this whole process is. Nothing protects us then. And then I see humans in so many varying forms or levels of consciousness, all believing different things. Many of them living in delusions and illusions of spirit guides, guardian angels, and timeline shifts and shit like that. And it's like, no wonder we are in the condition we're in, and we see no action and no movement. We're halfway to idiocracy in the most literal of fucking ways you can put that shit. Something has been so willfully, willingly devolving the human species like a parasite, enveloping everything that encompasses the human experience and injecting poisons, toxins, and excreting its nasty shit. And the evidence of it is everywhere. And through it all, nothing comes to help you. Through it all, nothing's coming to save the whole species of humans that are good and get us out of this place that we don't know how we wound up in, and nothing. And strangely enough, we don't fully understand how we interact with this reality and how it responds or reacts to us or interacts with us. Isn't that strange? And when you get down to the fact that we don't have senses, we got 5 physical senses, maybe a 6th with intuition, we don't have an awful lot in the way of senses to truly perceive the actual reality that we're in. Think of electromagnetic spectrum we're in, the sliver of light that we're in comparison to that, and how limited down in spectrum and scope our ability to interpret quote-unquote reality actually is. I don't know. Somehow becoming capable of seeing all of this and putting it all together has caused me a level of, how do I say it? I don't look at this and have any respect at all whatsoever for what's done it. I don't give a fuck how powerful they are, supernatural they are, how this, that, or the other thing that most people, like the sheepish fucking herd animals they were designed to be, will bow down, kowtow, and listen to. Like, it's, there is nothing that I can see about this that points to love and light, benevolence, or anything but the psychopathic, sadistic machinations of something that psychologically is so fucking hideous, and that its actions are so sadistic and malicious to beings that didn't do anything to it, for reasons that you could never fathom, over and over, cycle by cycle. When you look at whatever history we have, if there's any truth to it, there seems to be cycles, wiping out everything, starting over again. And it's all supposed to be, what? I'm telling you, people. Most humans don't think deeply about these things because the reality is certainly built out and designed to program you against thinking about such things and to grab your attention and focus and have it focused out here. Hey, look at all these flashing lights and shiny objects. Look at all these titties bouncing around and these scantily clad men and women running around having all that sex and wanting you to think about sex and doing all these things that'll keep you running around chasing your tail, tripping over your dick and doing all this stuff. Look, little human, look out here. And we think we're all that. That really is some funny shit.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.